Hi there, my beautiful beings. How are you today? So, how are you feeling? Is anyone excited about the coaching sessions and the possibilities for you? Now, the first thing I did want to mention in this one, yes, we will be talking about the coaching sessions for the next couple of weeks, sprinkled in with whatever wisdom is coming through from Spirit, because I only have a limited amount of spots. For those of you who are not aware, this is one-on-one coaching, and I only have 30 spots available. Each week with each of you, you will have an hour of my time and my beautiful spirit team to sit with you and go through this beautiful process, uncovering what your beautiful life purpose is, gaining clarity around that, looking at what is holding you back from, reaching that goal, reaching for those dreams that are in your heart. What is stopping you from moving forward towards that? Now, as I was thinking of all this today, this awareness came in from when I've been doing this beautiful coaching course in the last few months. Something came up and I hadn't seen it before. I wasn't meant to see it before, I guess. But events in my childhood had overlapped and I just gained this incredible clarity. What happened was, at the age of 5, many of you already know this story, but you won't know what I discovered in the last few weeks. So what happened at the age of 5, my sister was born. And before that, I was an odd duck. I was like really different. I spoke very different to the people around me, to all the beings, my parents, my cousins, like all the beings that we came into contact with. I just felt like I spoke a different language. Now, at the age of 5, my sister is born, and my sister speaks exactly the same language as my mum and my dad. And so they have this natural resonance with each other, that, oh, you speak my language, you're the same, not like this alien child that we've been given for the first 5 years and we have no clue what she's talking about. So, at the age of 5, I remember talking to you guys last year about I felt cast aside, right? These are all the things that came up at the time. I felt like I was no longer wanted. I was no longer needed. And the biggest one for me was that I felt that I became invisible to my mum. Now, the information that came through in the last few weeks that I just wasn't aware of. Many of you know the story as well. It's in When Love Leaves, that at that time, up until the age of 5, I had an imaginary friend. My mum talks about this imaginary friend all the time. What she didn't tell me was the name of this imaginary friend that I had, because I discovered later that this imaginary friend, his name was Jesus. And I was talking about him a lot as I was getting older. So what happened? At the age of 5, because I was about to start school and all of that was going on, my parents shut that down. They told me that I couldn't talk about this imaginary friend out in the world, that it wasn't safe. And then what happened? He disappeared. I remember going to church when I was 9, 10, even 8, when I had my first Holy Communion. I remember going to church and feeling so alone, so abandoned. And all this time I thought it was because my sister was born that all of that took place, and it wasn't because of that. You see, it wasn't out of malice that my parents did that. In their mind, they were protecting me. And another piece of information that came through, I'll stick with this one first before I move into what I've been shown recently by my beautiful team. So for me, when I spoke up, when I shared who I was and my beautiful imaginary friend that I had, imaginary, when I told others, I wasn't received well. I wasn't supported by the beings that I thought were there to support me on my journey. Instead, I was met with fear. And I was told to stop doing that it wasn't safe. And shortly after that, I couldn't see him anymore. I couldn't hear him anymore. So, as a child, as a 5-year-old, what I took from that was that I needed to be invisible, because when I was seen for who I truly was, it wasn't safe. And the one being that I loved the most in this world was taken away. The one being that loved me unconditionally. Unconditionally, no conditions. He saw me exactly as I was, for the beautiful light that I was, that I am. He saw me as I am. I didn't have to earn his love. I didn't have to be a good girl for him to love me. I just was the love when I was around him. I didn't need to be anything else. And so at the age of 5, that was taken away. He stepped away. And the truth is that he did that so that I could have this gorgeous human experience, spending years and years feeling so alone, so abandoned, to the point that in my early 20s, I just didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't see the point of my existence. So, my beautiful beings, then through my adult years, there was this resentment, especially towards my mother, especially. And throughout all my adult years, I thought it was because I felt unloved by her. I felt unseen, unwanted, abandoned, I guess is the word, abandoned. But that sense of abandonment came the moment that Jesus disappeared in my childhood. I didn't know that. All of this was revealed to me when I started doing Reiki and Jesus came back into my life. And we started having these beautiful conversations and he started showing me the truth. And in the last few weeks, that was revealed. My being invisible had nothing to do with being cast aside when my sister was born. As a child, I decided I needed to be invisible to stay safe. Because when I spoke up of what I was experiencing, I was met with fear. I was met with judgment. And I was shut down. I wasn't allowed to speak of these things. And to me, the most precious thing was taken away. So when you speak your truth to the beings around you, what I took on as a little one is that those things that are sacred to us are taken away. It wasn't worth sharing it. But that was the experience that I came to have. It was the experience I needed to have, a human experience, that I could be here today talking to you. If Jesus had stayed with me the whole time, I wouldn't have had all these beautiful experiences. The feeling alone, what does that feel like? The feeling abandoned. The feeling of not being loved. not being wanted because you are so different. I know how that feels. To the point that for most of my life, I chose to be invisible. Because no matter where I went, I just couldn't fit in. I've always been so different. And I know in my heart, there are many of you out there in the same boat. You're different and you've put up all these systems to protect yourself from feeling that hurt ever again, from the beings that matter to you being taken away. You don't want to feel that pain anymore. And so you put up all these things to protect you. But that is not the truth of who you are. My beautiful beings, it's not the truth. You did not come here to be invisible. You did not come here to fit in. Yes, you came here to have all these gorgeous human experiences. What does it feel like to be abandoned? What does it feel like to be alone, to feel alone, so alone that you don't want to be here anymore? To feel unsupported. What does that feel like? What does it feel like that you need to make yourself invisible so that others don't hurt you? For a long time, I thought that I had taken that on because if my mother couldn't see me, if she didn't know, if she couldn't hear me, she couldn't come and punish me for something that I had done wrong because I was invisible. It was my superpower. But I had no power over my sister. And she was always the one instigating the problems with my mum, getting her all wound up so that she could come and, explode. She just knew all the buttons. She knew what to press, what to push. That was her superpower, to get me in trouble every single time. And again, with time, I realized in her eyes, she thought I was the favorite because my mum was always comparing her to me. She thought I was the one that my mum loved the most. All the while, I thought I wasn't loved at all. I didn't feel it in my heart. But for her, she just wanted to prove to my mum that no, she's not the perfect child. Look, you need to punish her. She's not perfect. Everything happens for a reason. We take on all these dynamics for a reason. Nothing is random. It's all part of your beautiful path. How you got here today, why you're listening to these videos at all. There's a reason you are here, my beautiful beings. And if discovering more about who you are, why you are here, resonates with you, then I would be honored to go on this 8-week coaching program with you, to assist you to gain clarity on your purpose. Why are you here? What's holding you back? What's in the way of you moving forward with your purpose? You have the answers inside of you. And so many of these videos are to assist you to look outside your box. There was a beautiful saying, and it's not the first time I've heard it, but it came out in the course that I was doing, and someone reminded me. You cannot see the label of the jar from inside the jar. And that's what these beautiful coaching sessions are for. You cannot see the label of the jar from inside the jar. Think about it. Because you are in your problem. You cannot see the solutions. You are in it. Just like I was in that problem that I had to be invisible. Never once stopping to think why. I just decided that, well, it was because my sister was born and I was cast aside. But there was so much more to it. So much more. And before this video ends, I wanted to bring forward another truth that was revealed when that truth was shown to me. Many of you know the story from previous videos that when my mum's parents passed away, she was 5 years old. And at the age of 5, I grew up with this gorgeous story. At the age of 5, Mother Mary appeared to her to console her. Now what? I didn't know, because she never told me, or maybe she doesn't remember, or like me with the becoming invisible, it's been repressed in her subconscious and she doesn't remember. But what happened when Mother Mary appeared to her, I was shown that she was telling the beings around her about Mother Mary and how Mother Mary came to her. And what happened? These beings that had taken her in, her aunt, her uncle, they didn't believe her. They called her a liar. She was punished for telling lies, for making up stories. This was my mother at the age of 5. And I was shown the severe beatings she had to go through because she was trying to tell the truth and they wouldn't believe her. And so to her, already at the age of 5, she knew it's not safe. It's not safe to share these things. You know, when I read Lorna Byrne, she talks about angels. For a long, long time, the angels told her she couldn't share, that she could see them. It wasn't safe because of how the people around her were going to react. I think it's called Angels in My Hair. I'd have to look for the book. I have the book from when I did the 21-day angel adventure. But it's very common that when we come out and speak of these things, that the people around us, they don't believe us, or they're afraid for what will happen to us if we go out into the world speaking of these things. My parents were worried about me going to school and talking to the teachers. You know, I'm talking to Jesus here. Do you mind? You're interrupting my conversation. Can you imagine how that would have gone down? Or you're telling other kids, which probably at the time would have no clue what Jesus is, you know, if they weren't religious. They wouldn't know who he is. They'd be like, okay, she's got an imaginary friend. She's off with the fairies. That's fine. We don't care. But the teachers, the other beings, if you're constantly saying, hey, I talked to Mother Mary, or hey, I talked to Jesus, how do you think that would have gone down? We're talking about the 70s. If you had a child and it came to you today and said to you, hey, Mum, hey, Dad, I have an imaginary friend. I have a friend that I talk to all the time, and his name is Jesus. Or her name is Mother Mary. How would you react? What would be how would you respond to that? Be honest with yourself. Would you believe them? Would you be skeptical that it can't be? My mother was protecting me from the same thing repeating. She knew how others responded to this information being brought forward. And what I see, what I've been shown, is they were worried I'd end up in a mental institution because of my thoughts, because of the way I spoke. I wasn't normal. And now I look back and there were so many things that if I had to be tested, I'm sure there's some level of ADHD, because I can't sleep with lights on, no matter how dim they are. I can't sleep with a TV on, a radio on, noise. I can't sleep. I will stare at the ceiling all night long. There are so many things that I am so sensitive to. And I get overstimulated very easily with too much information that I need to just switch off and just be still and quiet for a while to allow it to sit. So, my beautiful beings, is it time for you to be seen, to be heard, to express your truth? Only you can know that. All right, my beautiful beings, we love you dearly. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And we'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye for now.